Today, we'll be looking at the concepts of operations with fractions, specifically subtraction. We will also learn how to use equivalent fractions to find the least common denominator and how to use equivalent fractions to simplify our answers. To do this, I'm going to walk you through two ways to solve this problem. Joshua walked 7/12 of a mile to a party. His friend Brandon walked 5/6 of a mile. Which friend walked the furthest, and by how far? First, let's find out which fraction is greater. We will use our fraction strips. Each strip represents 1 mile starting at 0. This mile is divided into 12 equal parts. This represents our denominator in 7/12. Now to show the numerator, I'm going to make 7 jumps. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. Now we see 7/12, and that is how far Joshua walked. The other mile is divided into 6 equal parts. Our denominator. I will make 5 jumps to show how far Brandon walked. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now that is 5/6 of a mile, and that is how far Brandon walked. Now let's compare. We see them put together, they're the equal lengths, and when you see the 7/12 and 5/6, 5/6 is much greater than 7/12. So we see that Brandon walked further than Joshua. Now I have a different way we can look at this. And these are fraction circles. We're going to start with the whole divided into 6 parts. And I will color in 5 of these parts. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Now we see that is 5/6, and that is how far Brandon walked. On the other fraction circle, I'm going to start with the whole divided into 12 pieces. And I will color in 7 to show how far Joshua walked. No. Yes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. When we compare them, we can still see that 5 covers more of the circle than 7/12. So Brandon, at 5/6 of a mile, walked further than Joshua. But now the question is, by how much? To find this out, we need to subtract the two fractions. And because we did this and we compared them and saw that 5/6 is greater than 7/12, we know to start with 5/6 as our minuend. And 7/12 will be our subtrahend. To subtract fractions, we must have a common denominator. And that is, we must find a number that is divisible by both 6 and 12. The first step is to look at what is there. 6 and 12. Denominator, denominator. And we know 12 is divisible by both itself, which would be 1, and 6, which would be 2. And therefore, we know 12 is our least common denominator. So we already know that whatever this is going to become is going to have a 12 in the denominator. Now, to show this, we take this 5/6 right here, and to get it to 12, we know 6 times 2 is 12. So we must multiply by 2 to equal 12. But whatever we do to the bottom, we also have to do to the top. And it will look like what I have here. And when you multiply 5 times 2, it becomes 10. So now our equation is 10/12 minus 7/12. We can also look at equivalent fraction strips to show this. Right here, if we start at 5/6, which is our minuend, and this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and we follow this blue line down to the closest other blue line, we see we hit right here at 12. And if we look and count, that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 twelfths. And there we know that our equation in our math up there was correct. So now that we have our common denominator, we don't need to do anything to it during our subtrahend. That is, when we subtract, we leave the denominator alone. So our subtraction is the same thing as saying 10 minus 7 over 12. And when you subtract 10 and 7, you get 3. And that makes it 3/12. But now there's one more step. We're not done. We may have our answer, but we are not done. We have to simplify. Again, we can look at our equivalent fraction chart to simplify. This time, we start at our twelfths, our 3/12. 1, 2, and 3. And we want to get the smallest fraction that is equivalent to 3/12. And to do this, we need to go up to our smaller fractions. And here we see the smallest fraction that is equivalent to 3/12 is 1/4. But how can we get there mathematically? How can we get there mathematically? To do this, we would divide. We know we have to find what number we can use to divide by both the numerator and denominator. Well, I know 3 can divide by 3, and 3 divided by 3 is 1, and 12 can divide by 3. 12 divided by 3 is 4. So our simplified answer is 1/4. That is Brandon walked further than Joshua by 1/4 of a mile.